Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you how I dug and set the posts for this cedar fence. So I started by marking the property line. To do this, I used the property marker in the back corner, as well as 2 reference points off the side of the foundation. This allowed me to get a very accurate property line. I then marked out where my posts were and waited for my wood to be delivered. So this is Western Red Cedar, which is a beautiful wood to work with. It's naturally rot resistant and looks really nice once stained. So in the bottom here are the 6x6 posts. They're 12 foot long. In the middle is the 6-inch tongue and groove paneling, and on top is the 2x4s, which I'll use to frame the fence. So I've dug a number of fence holes by hand, and it is hard and takes a long time, so I decided to rent an auger. So this is a little stand-on skid steer with an auger attachment, and it made digging these holes so much faster. Basically, I would mark where I wanted the hole to be, get the auger bit lined up, and start spinning the bit, and then just slowly apply pressure and let the bit just eat into the ground. This is a 12-inch diameter auger bit, and in some places digging was incredibly easy where it was all just compacted soil. In other places I ran into rocks, old root systems from a cedar hedge that used to be here. So there was a little bit of finessing, angling the auger bit just a little bit to try to get it around some obstacles. But overall, digging the holes went very well. So here I am doing a little bit of hand digging. I think this is where I found a rock, and this was one of the rocks I was able to remove. There were some that I found which were about the size of a microwave or a small car, and I wasn't able to get them out of the ground. So this one I was able to get out, but the others I just had to work around. So these machines are pretty expensive to rent, so I was able to coordinate it with a neighbor. So after I was done drilling my holes, I drove it over to my neighbor's house. as you can see here, lifting the post hole digger kind of to the height of the wheelbarrow was pretty hard on the shoulders. So I just put down a tarp, lifted the soil into there, and then dragged the tarp across the grass. So once all of my holes were cleaned out, I started cutting the sonotubes for them. So some people like to put a sonotube down the full depth of the hole. For me, I don't really care about the depth, and actually in a lot of the holes, the bottoms are kind of builded out a little bit, so I can put a little bit extra concrete down there. So I just use the sonotubes for the top 14 inches of the hole. I was able to borrow a concrete mixer from one of my neighbors, and this made mixing concrete so much easier and faster than the way I used to do it, which was just in a wheelbarrow, shovel, and a little bit of water. So I found with this mixer I could get about 3 bags in per mix. And of course, concrete dust is not something you want to be breathing in, so for any time I was using concrete and mixing it, I was wearing a respirator. So I didn't really use any ratio of water, it was more just based off of the look and feel of the concrete. If it was really slushy, I'd add a little bit more concrete mix, but if it was still kind of dry, I'd add a little bit more water. So the process for putting these posts in was to, first of all, put a little bit of concrete at the bottom of the hole. And this is just to make sure that the posts aren't in direct contact with wet, moist soil. This is to prevent the wood from being in direct contact with the soil and hopefully prevent rot working its way up the post. After I put about 2 bags of concrete in, I made sure my post was level, and I used little pieces of scrap wood here just to brace the post. This is one of the holes here that had a little bit of, I ran into some rocks in the bottom, hence why it's a little bit wider at the top, but it'll all be covered up after. This was a cool tool I got to use. It's a vibrating stick, and basically I guess vibrates and allows the concrete to settle down to the bottom, and it's pretty cool. You can see here from pushing or just from shoveling the concrete in to after vibrating it sinks about 1.5 inches. So that leaves me pretty confident knowing that the concrete is nice and set down in the bottom of the hole. And I also used a little trowel here just to make the top of these concrete forms smooth and looking nice. And of course I had it sloped away from the post so you're not having water pooling around the base of the post. So here I am putting the sonotube in my final hole, and again I start just by putting a little bit of concrete down in the bottom of that hole. once that concrete is set, I put the actual post in the ground, make sure it is square as well as in line to where I want, and then I start filling up the bottom with concrete. So I didn't use quick set concrete, I used the 24-hour stuff. So I let the post sit overnight and came back and took off all the bracing. So most of these holes have about 5 bags of concrete in them. In terms of how long this took me, I was able to dig all the holes with my machine in about 4 hours. Then all the cleaning and prep work, just getting the remainder soil out of the holes, took another 2.5 hours. And then pouring the concrete and getting all the posts set took a good 7 hours, and that was with a helper. And we weren't rushing, we were taking our time, listening to music and kind of enjoying the process. So yeah, in the next video I will show you how I framed the fence together and added all of the paneling.